is that person suitable for high office?
Yeah.
Yes or no? That wasn't the point. What actually came through was he's not going to press charges. So yeah, we'll bring you back on board. It's surprising because every political party operates in the UK along the mutually assured destruction agreement. In other words, every political party tries to keep their sexual deviant stories out the way because they know that they themselves have plenty in their closet. And so I think it's really important to realize that this particular story, the Chris Pincher story, is actually just, it seems specifically when we're talking about the resignation of Boris, it seems like a pretext. But if you look across the political party structures, whether it's the Labour Party, the Lib Dems, the SNP, the Conservative Party, every single party tries to go through the same process. An allegation is made, an internal inquiry is spoken of, the story then loses traction, and then the victim is essentially ignored and forgotten. That's essentially the procedure of political party politics in the UK, and it has been going on for quite some time.
Do you think that's because if they were absolutely honest about every single one of their members' behaviour, there'd be a high enough proportion that that several of them would have to resign, and it would cause chaos?
Well, yeah, I mean, that's the reason why in one of the articles I wrote for the National Review, I was just pointing out that just this year we had Lord Hammond of Rotherham, who was found guilty of the rape of a young boy with his brothers, and then we had Mike Hill from Hartlepool, who was charged where he was forced to pay £430,000 to his victims. But the story is also true of the SNP. It's also true of the Lib Dems, one of the things that rarely happens in politics is that the leader of a political party resigns because of a sexual deviant story. It doesn't. That's not the way it operates. But there's another layer to this, which I think is fundamental. When I wrote the story, because there'd been in circulation a spreadsheet with about 40 MPs and ministers who had been misbehaving. Yeah. And I don't know if you remember that PDF, that spreadsheet, but it was making the rounds. So there was no one surprised, right? In fact, if you Google it, you'll find it very, very easily.
And some of the names on that were wrongly on that list as well. They weren't all tested, were they? And some of them were wrongly on it, I think.
Well, yeah, with that they were or not is actually not that relevant for the particular story, because if you think about what happened to me, I wrote the story. The Conservative Party said it launched an internal inquiry. I was never consulted, right? Nobody from the Conservative Party said, well, actually, we need to reach out to Alex to see what happened. That's what an internal inquiry presupposes, doesn't it? Yeah. I mean, I think that's the first. So if the internal investigations were done in the same way that the one pertaining to me was done, then you can see that there wasn't a great deal of seriousness attached to the process.
So in fact, and this happened when Theresa May was leader. So is your argument really that actually this could have been dealt with properly by Theresa May? She should never have promoted him. She could have kicked him out on his ear when you wrote your article in 2017. And in fact, if any leader has to pay the cost of this, it should be Theresa May, not Boris Johnson.
Well, yes. So it's a multi-layered argument, but actually, if you want to take it down to that, I think that's the point I'm really making. So let's strip down the story. I wrote the story because of that spreadsheet doing the rounds, and I saw Chris Pincher being mentioned in that spreadsheet. The allegations were very similar to what I'd gone through. So I thought, my God, what happened to me was in 2001. It's now 2017, and the same allegations are being made, but nobody seems to be coming out or saying anything about it. So I might as well write a piece on this, because between 2001 and 2017, 16 years have gone by, and there must have been multiple victims of that kind of behavior. So that's why I wrote it. Theresa May, so he then resigned the next day. which is in a way potentially was a relief for him, because he probably lived with this sort of Damocles hanging over his head for quite some time. But then very quickly he was reinstated within about a month and a half. What's really interesting about this, though, is that the Mail reported something. It was a very small article, but it was meaningful, because the CPS itself told Pincher at the Carlton Club, ironically, that because I wouldn't be taking matters further, certainly I wouldn't go to court with these allegations, he was free to start again. Yeah. So the morality of the argument wasn't actually debated at all. Is that person suitable for high office? Yeah. Yes or no? That wasn't the point. What actually came through was he's not going to press charges. So yeah, we'll bring you back on board. And because there was no internal inquiry, and in fact, there was no internal inquiry, I suspect because the way that political party machines operate is simply that somebody who makes a complaint publicly is essentially either a failed candidate, somebody with a grudge, or somebody whose motivations aren't pure.